So in this training, I'm going to be going through my 2023 predictions for video content and social media in general. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be splitting this training into two parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically give you my 2023 video and social media predictions, and then I'm going to give you some tangible actions that you can do in order to apply this to your content strategy in your coaching business. Now, obviously last year, short form video content absolutely exploded, but the thing that most people are talking about right now is AI, ChatGPT, and I think people are actually quite scared that it's going to take over jobs, and it's going to become very easy for coaches or new people in the industry to start creating the content that you're creating, and it's going to become more and more saturated. But I actually think that we can use AI to our advantage, which I'll dive into in this training. My prediction, first of all, is in 2023, long form video content will become more important for coaches, service providers, or whatever business that you're in. Now, people think because of the explosion of short form video content that long form video is dead, and it's absolutely not true. Now, if you think about the actual way people consume their content, it's usually vertically holding their phone. So that's why vertical content is super important. But as a result of that, people think long form video is dead actually. But actually, if you go and watch like a YouTube series or a podcast on YouTube, for example, you literally have to turn your phone. And there's something to be said about sitting in, your bed or in your office and watching this video in a horizontal thing. And it's going to become more and more important because over a long form piece of content, you're going to be able to provide the most value that you possibly can. So with long form content, how I would do this is in the form of a podcast, in the form of live streams or Q&As in your community. It's likely as a coach that you're going to be having a ton of pain points with your clients, a ton of frustrations that they might be going through, a ton of stresses they might be going through. And these are things that we can create our long form content around. So for example, if you have a fat loss client and they're struggling with high protein meals, for example, you might create a podcast on how to create high protein recipes on a budget. Or if someone's struggling with emotional eating, you might create 45 minutes to an hour long podcast on emotional eating and how we can solve that problem. I'm going to have all of these long form pieces of content, which can be used privately in your community or even posted on social media if that's what you want to do. But ultimately, you're going to have all this content that actually solves the particular problems that your audience are actually going through in their particular lives. Once we have them long form pieces of content, this is going to be a massive benefit to obviously your clients and your audience because you're solving their problems and then that's a value to them. But also for us in the sense that we're not having to answer the same questions over and over and over again. So you could actually use call to actions on your social media and say to your audience, if you want this training, I've put together this hour-long training, I can send it straight to you. So those long-form pieces of content are going to be a massive benefit to everyone. It creates a massive win-win if we create them. Now that leads me on to the second thing, which is short-form content. Now, we know that on social media, as of right now, the kind of formula that wants is the volume of content to be going up and the speed of distribution to be going up also. Now what that means is that we're gonna have to spend more and more time creating content and it becomes more time consuming and it's more energy consumption being put into that, which is kind of what we want to avoid because what we want to be doing is spending our time providing our service and ultimately helping the people that we want to do and spending more time on the things that we value in our personal life also. So the question now is, how can we create more short form content in a short amount of time? And the answer is because we've got the longer form pieces of content, which might be 30, 45, 60 minutes long. It's not uncommon to be able to strip out 10, 15, 20 pieces of shorter form content, maybe 30 seconds to a minute long from that longer form piece, which we can distribute across our social media channels. Again, answering all our audience's pain points, frustrations, stresses, all that good stuff that we can help them with. Now this serves as a gateway to the long form content because if someone's getting a lot of value from that 30 seconds to a minute and they want a bit of expansion on that topic or they want some clarity on that topic, what are they going to do? They're going to go and consume the longer form piece of content. The higher the value add from the shorter and long form piece of content, the more likely they are to trust you, the more likely they are to follow your call to actions, the more likely to jump on a sales call and all that good stuff that we want in our business. So it's kind of like the hierarchy of shorter form content feeding into that longer form content. And by just creating or spending that 1 hour creating that 30, 40, 60 minute piece of long form content, we've got all the shorter form content on that specific topic that we can distribute across social media. So we might be able to spend a couple of hours a week scheduling, and then it's done for the week. And we know that it's solving the problems of our audience. Now, I've worked with clients on video and social media content for a long time now. And one of the things we focus on the most is coming up with the actual content ideas to hook the audience in to watch the content and consume it and ultimately get value from it. And this is where I think AI can be of massive, massive benefit. But there is an actual way to do it. So if you just type into ChatGPT something like, 10 content ideas for fat loss clients, it's just going to spit out these generic content ideas that probably everyone's going to use. And that's going to probably be the quickest way to blend in. So how I think you can use AI and ChatGPT effectively is the following. So what I want you to think about when you're looking at video content and social media content is what is your area of expertise, or what is your area of influence? So if you're a fat loss coach, for example, or a mindful eating coach, or a nutritionist, whatever your particular niche is, you can think of your area of influence within that niche. So let's take fat loss as an example. We could look at, protein, we could look at training, we could look at nutrition, we could look at emotional eating, we could look at fad diets, we could look at all these different mindsets, we could look at all these different things within that particular area of influence. Now, once we've identified all them topics, we can then focus our attention into what our actual area of expertise is. So if we took all them topics in the area of influence, you could say, right, okay, well, my area of expertise within that realm is mindset, or nutrition, or training, or low carb diet, whatever the sort of particular area of expertise you have within that area of influence. And obviously everyone's going to be different in that sense. Once you have them areas of expertise, then you can use AI to generate the content ideas more specifically to your niche, to your expertise, so on and so forth. So you might type into ChatGPT, give me 10 content ideas based around emotional eating for a specific demographic. And what you'll be able to see then is it getting more specific on the content ideas because you're feeding it more specific stuff to you. Now, ChatGPT is not an exact science as yet. So what it will give you is quite a few decent ideas and then quite a few that you might just throw away. And that's absolutely fine. We can take the better ones and keep them as good ideas and then throw away the ones that we don't need. Once we have the better ideas, we can create the longer form piece of content around them ideas in the form of a podcast, in the form of a live stream in your group, in the form of a Q&A on Instagram, whatever it is. Then we can use our editing skills. If you need anything like that, come to me. I'll point you in the right direction, or I can even do it for you. And we can edit that long form piece of content into a ton of short form content that we can distribute across. This way, you're not only saving a ton of time, you're actually going to increase your visibility because you're having more volume on social media. You're able to put out more content at speed, which is going to help you get seen. It's going to help you get more impact, and ultimately it's going to turn into more sales calls, more leads coming through the door, and ultimately more sales, leading to more income for you in your business, which is ultimately a good thing. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, like, how much value can you actually get across in 30 to 60 seconds? Well, actually quite a lot if you do it the right way. Now, the aim of any piece of content that you're putting out is to get the video watched from start to finish. Now, the reason that should be the aim is because the platforms are looking for, the videos to be watched through. Are you keeping eyes on the platform? That's going to lead it to getting shown more on the explore page. It's going to lead you to get more views. The more views that you get, the more people will hit that follow button. The more followers that you get, the more likely chance people are going to follow them call to actions, and ultimately more sales calls and more clients coming into your business. So that's kind of my predictions around content and video and strategy going forward into 2023. Now I'm going to finish off with some actual practicalities that you can do within the actual edits. One of my big predictions for this year is that iPhone videography is going to explode. Cameras on iPhones now are getting so good that we can actually film events, we can film really complex pieces of content straight from our mobile device, which is a great thing. If we're making like pretty basic short form content for social media, the editing process on phones is awesome now. We can use apps like Video Leap, we can use apps like VN or Adobe Rush to create that content. Like, I'm filming this training on my phone right now. Now, I don't think anyone has ever actually questioned the quality, whether I've filmed on my Canon on my professional camera versus my phone, because as I say, they are getting so good now. So iPhone videography is going to become a thing. So in that sense, we can now edit superb videos and superb video content within our phone. So the apps, Videoleap, VN, Adobe Rush, are going to really start to focus more and more on this, and they're going to start to bring out more features. And it's just important that we keep up to date with that. And I'll obviously provide more trainings as more features get released. Now, the thing that I think we've got to watch with this is the fact that because everyone's going to be doing this, it's going to be quite easy to blend in. So the captions app, for example, got some great captions on there, but everyone seems to be using them. So it's going to become like very easy to blend in. And I have this sort of saying that what's new becomes old very quickly. So if something is new and fashionable, everyone jumps on that trend, and ultimately it becomes old, and then something new comes in and the same thing happens, so on and so forth. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to get into a trap of like doing what everyone else is doing, because ultimately it's just going to, crash and burn eventually, and we don't want to blend in. So my recommendation is find like a brand kit, whether that be on Canva, whether that be on Adobe, and just create it so your captions stand out a little differently, your graphics stand out a little differently, and you have a certain style of content that people can relate your content to. Like for me, for example, I love my talking head videos and I love my graphics coming in, but what I don't like is to make it too flashy and too many things going on in the videos, which is ultimately too distracting for the clients. I want to get my message across as the main thing. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think all these video editing apps are going to become super powerful. If you want a bit more complex edits, let's say you're throwing this content onto YouTube, I'd probably recommend that you either learn Adobe Premiere Pro on desktop, because it is a bit more complex to use, but you are going to get a lot more for it and a lot more better edits from it. I'm going to drop some trainings on Adobe Premiere Pro as well, just so you've got the basics in there, that if you want to use that going forward, that you can. So in a nutshell, for 2023, my predictions are that longer form content is going to become more and more of a valuable commodity, because more and more people will be focusing on short form. But what we can do to stand out is chop out and crop our short form content from the longer form content that helps our audience and helps us distribute more volume of content at a higher speed of distribution. The second thing is AI is going to become massively used in content creation, to the point where everyone's probably going to be doing the same things. But how we can differentiate ourselves is think about your area of influence and then your area of expertise within that area of influence, and then use AI to generate the content ideas based on your expertise, rather than just letting it spit out this generic sort of stuff that it does for most people. In terms of the actual apps, I think Videoleap, VN, Adobe Rush are all going to massively improve this year to help support shorter form content on social media platforms. But what we want to be doing is spending a lot of time crafting the quality of our longer form content, and ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to be able to get better short form content out in the long run. I'm going to follow this video with more predictions in the near future, but if you do have any questions, let me know and I'll happily answer them within the group. Peace.